Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Payson. Lisa, you good in Payson?
Yes, sir, we are.
Yes, I'm okay.
And we're good on YouTube? Right on. Let's start this meeting. We'll start this meeting with Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Humphrey will lead us in that. And then James Minlove will do the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our kind, gracious, loving Heavenly Father, we bow our heads before Thee at the beginning of this Board of Supervisors meeting. We have gratitude in our hearts for the many blessings that Thou hast bestowed upon us. We're grateful for the beauties of Thy creation that surround us. May we appreciate all that Thou hast blessed us with, and especially the rain, the moisture that has come, that has given life to the vegetation, animal life, and all that surrounds us here. Grateful for the opportunity that we have to be in public service, and we are especially thankful for the Board of Supervisors and other elected officials that have taken upon themselves the opportunity to serve and have put themselves forward to further and benefit the lives of those that are in Gila County. Heavenly Father, we pray for Thy blessings on this meeting, that we may have Thy Spirit to be with us, guidance and direction to do Thy will in all things, and bless us to continually move forward and to improve and bless the lives of others who we are charged to address. And this we pray in the name of Thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, James. All right, we'll get this started at 2A presentations. Presentation by the Superior Court's Office on the Gila County Jury Division Proposal and expression of appreciation to the Board of Supervisors for their support. And we have Judge Wright and Judge Chambers. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Minlove. Just wanted to take a few minutes this morning. Let me just expand to give the court sort of an update on jury trials in Gila County. I want to touch on 4 topics: the Tommy Klein Martin building and how that's working, the use of case-specific jury questionnaires, how that's helping us, jury compensation, and then I'm going to actually on the split part, which is sort of the main topic, I'm going to turn that over to Judge Chambers and let him talk primarily about that. First, let me start with our use of the Tommy Klein Martin building in Payson. The building, I think, has now been open for nearly a year. We are continually grateful for the board for taking the step and county management for taking the step to get that building there. It's a great asset for the court. We use it for jury trials, and we also use it when we need a second courtroom. It is much better than the room we used to use in the back of the Sheriff Shepard's building, and it's light years beyond that. So thank you for that. Let me just take a step back on how that has worked with our overall facilities. Pre-COVID and pre the Tommy Klein Martin building, if we put all our jury resources in a given week into jury trials, we could potentially do 8 jury trial days a week. So we had 2 courtrooms, 4 days each week. They were all here in Globe. During COVID, we had to shut that down, and that became 3 days per week. So you can see 3/8, what's that? I'm not going to do the math on that, but it's 3/8. And now, post-COVID, with the Tommy Klein Martin building, we have the ability to do 11 jury trial days. And the big thing is not only do we expand back out our days, but we have it on both sides of the county. So that's great. I'll let you know, I have picked or started picking a total of 5 juries so far in the building. 2 of those in 2022, and then already 3 this year. And we're just, a month and a half, 2.5 months in. 3 of those have gone all the way through to a verdict. One of those during selection, the defendant entered a plea. Another one following selection, the defendant entered a plea. So we're looking forward. When I prepared my statements, I had 9 trials scheduled for April and 6 in May. After yesterday, I only now have 1 set in April, but still 6 in May. But having, I don't think we can look at the benefit of that building by necessarily how many It's important we look at how many go to completion, but every time we schedule a trial and the folks go, wow, we're really going to have it, there's a building there, it motivates everyone to look carefully at cases and determine whether they really need to have a trial or not. So again, even though we've only really gone with 5 in the last year, number one, I think that number will go up. But number two, we've had a lot of other cases that it's pushed them towards resolution, which is good for all parties. So again, let me again say thanks to the board for having the wisdom and the resolve to fund that building. We appreciate that. Next, let me talk briefly about the use of case-specific jury questionnaires. In the past, we would send out summonses to jurors. They would show up and then we would sort them out, find out who was eligible to serve. Now we send out a case-specific questionnaire in every case. This allows us to allow a lot of our jurors not even to make the trip to the courthouse. When I talk to jurors, I say, I'm sure all of you had something else you wanted to do today. It allows a lot of them to do that. This last case I had just last week, the jury commissioner, we had 50 folks return those jury questionnaires. We were able to say to 20 of those folks, you don't even need to show up at the courthouse. They included things like they had medical issues or medical appointments. My trial was in the Tommy Klein Martin building. I had several folks from Globe that said, I'm 75 years old, my health isn't great, and my car isn't great. I'm not sure I can make it to Payson for 3 days. And so we were able to excuse those and not even risk them having to make that trip. So that's been something that I think is a benefit not only to the court system, but a huge benefit to our citizens. We can make sure the trials they can serve on, we can get them there. The trials that they're not going to serve on, we let them stay home and go about their other things. Juror compensation, third thing. Historically, we have paid jurors a whole $12 a day. So yes, they come for the whole day, 8 hours, or maybe 9 or 10, and we pay them $12. Talk about less than minimum wage. If we had longer trials that went beyond, I think it was 5 or 10 days, we could have some additional compensation, but basically most of our trials, $12 a day. Amazingly, we still had people show up and serve. The legislature recently had some changes. Jurors now get a minimum of $40 a day, which isn't huge, but that's still better than 12. If they actually request wage payment, wage replacement funds, they can get those from day one up to $300 a day. So again, we're not making people rich by allowing them to serve, but we are facilitating folks that if this is the difference between making a rent payment or not, they can do that. Additionally, they receive mileage if they travel outside their zip codes. And then also our jury commissioner, Anita, has made it worked where they no longer have to get a voucher and then go downstairs to the first floor and get cash. They actually get a debit card. And so they can then either deposit that into their bank or go spend it as they would any other debit card. So that, again, a great benefit for our jurors. Now, finally, why we're here. On January 11th, the Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court approved our proposal to split our jury panel. And Judge Chambers is going to give you details on what that's going to mean. It's a culminate. Let me just take a step back. We've been actively working on this iteration of the split for over a year. And I want to say thanks to Judge Chambers and also our court administrator, John Barrup, numerous hours on this proposal. This is really the first time. Maricopa County did this some time ago and it didn't work out and they went away from it. But the Supreme Court and some of their staff are sort of looking at Gila County as a potential model. If this works well, I think Yavapai County with sort of their split with the Verde Valley and then the Prescott area may follow in our footsteps and some things like that. Not only this time we spent over a year, but as I was going through the process, I saw some emails Judge Chambers and I had from 2016 where we were discussing this. So this is really not just a year in the process, but really 6, 7, 8 years in process. So I'm going to turn over the podium to Judge Chambers, and he can talk about what the proposal means, when it's effective, and from there. So,
Thank you,
Chambers.
Judge.
Thank you, members of the board. I think really even before talking about a lot of the details, a lot of credit needs to go right here to the Board of Supervisors for making this possible. I'd like to think that perhaps Judge Wright and I were the first ones to ever come up with this idea, but having talked to other judges, they thought of it too. And the thing that kept us from being able to do it was, where would you call the jury in northern Gila County if we actually divided the jury pool? And that's where, of course, what this board did in constructing the Tommy Klein Martin building, which provided that venue. And of course, we can see it from the video here. There's plenty of room to call dozens and dozens of potential jurors for a jury trial. So again, thank you for making that possible. But I think you're all aware as well of the problem that we have. We have a wonderful county, but there are long distances between the major population centers in the county. And for years and years and years, the good people from northern Gila County would take an extra hour and a half, 2 hours each way to come to jury service here at the courthouse in Globe. And I think everybody involved in the system has always appreciated those individuals who are willing to sacrifice their time and come down for jury duty. I think we've all acknowledged that it increases the cost of jury service. I used to live in South America, and one of the things they'd say there in English as a saying was, time is money. Time is a valuable resource, and it's valuable for everybody. And by adding that 3 to 4 hours extra, basically what it meant was some people would not be able to do jury service because of other commitments they have. And that was a legitimate thing. It's not as though they were just trying to get out of jury service. The statutes provide for people to be allowed not to do jury service under certain conditions that would create a hardship. And so this facility and the splitting of the jury pool make it possible for many of those people who otherwise would have said, well, I can do 8 or 9 hours, but 10 or 11 hours a day, I don't have that much time. And so that's what this will enable. So here's the way it will work. What the Chief Justice approved was for any, and there's 2 standards. There's one for civil cases and one for criminal cases. We have more criminal jury trials than civil trials, so I'll have to discuss that one first. So for any offense committed after February 1st of this year, what will happen is that case where that's going to be tried as a jury trial will be in the basically the Justice Court district that it occurred in. So if it happened in the Payson Regional Justice Court area, that case will be tried in northern Gila County at our Tommy Klein Martin facility using jurors from that area. If it occurred in the Globe Regional Justice Court jurisdiction, the case will be tried here in the courthouse. Now, this takes effect for crimes committed after February 1st of this year. That necessarily means that we're going to have a period of about a year, maybe even a year and a half with some cases that are slow to go to trial, where we're still going to be calling jurors from both ends of the county. But that's going to phase itself out as the cases age and the older cases get tried. Now, it's a little bit different with the civil cases. In the civil cases, the Supreme Court approved, or the Chief Justice approved, any case going to trial after February 1st of 2023 will be tried in the regional justice district that it occurred in. So if there is say a motor vehicle accident that resulted in a case and it happened in Star Valley, even if it occurred 3 years ago, if it's going to trial now, it will go to trial in northern Gila County. In addition to saving time, which is, I think, important for people, we ask a lot of jurors. There's good reason we do. I mean, it's part of our legal system for centuries and centuries, but it is a big ask. We are also, I think, making jury service available to more people. We all know that none of us know what's going to happen to our health in the future. Any of us may suffer health problems that would make it difficult to do travel like we've required in the past. And in the future, many of those people will say, I can do it. I can go to Payson, or I can go to Globe, and not have to travel as much, and I'd be happy to serve as a juror. And those people have valuable opinions and make good jurors. I think many of these changes are really designed to make jury service accessible to more people. And I think that's a good thing. I'd like to also point out, as we're talking about who we're grateful for, I think we need to give a lot of credit to Judge Wright on this. It is one thing to come up with wonderful ideas. I've got a million of them. But it's another thing to actually take the idea and move it to completion, take it past the goal line, and implement it. And that is something that Judge Wright has done here. He works on a number of state committees, and I think that's been invaluable in this process, and we're certainly grateful for his efforts. Another person I think we should mention is our clerk of court, Anita Escobedo. I think as judges, we issue these orders and we say, get us so many jurors for this trial. And then it's her job to get them, and we say it like all she has to do is snap her fingers. And with this proposal that is now, technically it's actually we've been approved for 5 years, so we're kind of on probation with the Supreme Court to do it this way. But it's a lot of the hard work in making sure that we have sufficient jurors comes back to the clerk of court, who acts as our jury commissioner. So we need a big shout out to her as well. But, and again, finally, thank you for making the facility for us, making it possible to have this happen. We're just thoroughly excited for this opportunity that we have, and we hope that it works out well, and we're willing to take any questions you might have.
Judge, thank you. Thank you both. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm just grateful that we were able to help with the building, because I think it's great for the constituents. You know, when you look at gas prices today and they say it's inching up towards $5 a gallon, and you got to travel 4 hours a day for jury trial, and if you're here and go to Payson, either you get a motel or you drive there and back, and then you got to turn around and go back the next day. So I think working to make it better for the constituents to be willing to set as jurors and to be able to show up and not have to spend $5 and all that time in gas and effort and energy. And so I thank you all very much for helping us help you, because without you guys pushing and giving us the information and the things that we need, I appreciate all of you for helping us help the constituents, because that's what we're all here for. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Judge Wright, Judge Chambers. I'm glad to hear that the TCM building is working out. That's the whole point. So it serves the area, and this is a giant leap, I think, to get this jury split, the pool split the way it is, and I appreciate all the effort that's gone into that, because that is a complaint from those that have to travel very far to do that, and especially if they're not compensated well for it. So in this day and age, everyone is so busy. It's just a real blessing to have the ability, and I'll go into the building and see the activity there, and I just think, hey, this building's working out for our people. So this will go into effect as soon as the Chief Justice signs it.
It's in effect now.
Oh, it is, okay.
What's happened, we haven't had any civil cases go to jury trial since the effective date, so we haven't really seen the effect of the split yet. With the criminal cases, from the time you commit a crime to the time it actually gets tried, it usually takes several months, and so we haven't had any crimes committed after February 1st that are ready to try yet. So the real test of this is going to be in 10 to 12 months when we start seeing those cases go to trial.
Okay. Thank you both.
Judges, thank you. I really appreciate you guys, and really, I look at a project of this magnitude. It was a group effort that got this done. I remember the discussions with you, Judge Wright, and you two, and it was, I just want to say thank you to everybody that was involved, because it was not an easy project to get pulled out of the hat. That one was not. And so it's really good to see it working and the benefits that we have with it right now. So thank you all that was involved. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, going on to number 3, public hearings. 3A, information, discussion, action to consider a liquor license application, county number LL-23-06, submitted by Amy S. Nations for the transfer of a Series 9 liquor store license with an interim permit to operate at the Ponderosa Market located in Pine, and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control whether the license should be granted. And Sam, you're it.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. Ms. Amy S. Nation submitted an application to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control for a new Series 9 liquor store license at the Ponderosa Market located at 6112 West Hardscrabble Mesa Road in Pine. The clerk's office received the application from the DLLC on February 1st, 2023, and processed it for internal reviews and to be posted for the 20-day posting period. It was posted on February 7th, 2023, and removed on February 28th, 2023. With no pending issues relevant from department heads or elected officials to date, the clerk's office has received no written arguments from any of the bona fide residents within a 1-mile radius of the property. I can answer any questions and request that the board proceed with the hearing.
Thank you, Sam. Supervisor Humphrey?
Mr. Chairman, I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
No questions, thank you.
And neither do I, Sam. So I'll open it up right now to public hearings. Lisa, do we have anybody in Payson?
No, sir.
Thank you. Is anyone on YouTube? And I don't see anyone here, I don't believe. So at this time, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve the liquor license application submitted by Amy S. Nations for the Ponderosa Market.
And I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, on to number 4, regular agenda items. 4A, information, discussion, action for the purchase of Spider Tech subscription agreement, quotation number 0000968, for a period of 3 years for an initial cost of $60,550, beginning March 21st, 23 to March 20th, 26. Good morning, Dennis. You're it.
Chairman, members of the board. This is a program designed for victim enhancement. Currently, the way we operate now is anytime we have a victim of a crime, the person is incarcerated, anything going on with the case as it moves through the legal system is always done with a telephone call. With this program, it's software, and Spider Tech is the name of the company. How they came up with that name, I don't know, but what they offer is it marries our CAD program and Sheriff's Office records with their software, and when people are signed up for the notification, either through an email or through texting, they automatically get it. They know how their case is proceeding as it goes through. And for one, it frees us up from having to make that notification, because sometimes human error, it gets dropped. But this is a program, and it's funded by the Victims of Crimes Assistance Fund. So basically, the way that this works is we have to put the money up front, the $60,500 up front. They come in and they install it, they get everything up and running, and then we submit a reimbursement paperwork to the state of Arizona, and it's paid back to us through the Victims Assistance Fund, funding it for 3 years. And from the people that I've talked to, this may be one of those things that the state, we're not the only ones doing this. We're probably, I bet there's 6, 7, 8 agencies down in the valley that have already got this program up and running. So there's all the possibility that the state will continue to fund this beyond the 3 years. So based on our evaluation and what we know about this, it's the sheriff's office recommendation that we push forward with this program and get it started. So I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Dennis. Supervisor Humphrey.
And so you said that this can be done by a text as well?
Correct, text and email.
Yeah, that would be beneficial to you too, because then you'd have time and date and the message that you sent to prove that they actually got the information that you needed them to get.
Date, time, and stamp is a great thing for.
So, yeah, so not only save time, but it would also save the maybe repercussion if they say they misunderstood what was said on the phone or things of that nature. So, yeah, I think it's a good deal and will help a lot in a lot of ways. Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Dennis. So if you go to the hospital or go into a surgery or anything like that, the new thing now is they text you, your loved one is going into surgery, your loved one is in recovery, your loved one will be out soon, all that. And so it sounds like this is kind of similar to that. And it seems fairly inexpensive for that, and I see that as a great help.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Dennis, the 60,000 is for all 3 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Sounds like it's worth a try. Yeah, hopefully it'll help you guys out a lot. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the purchase of Spider Tech subscription agreement, quotation number 960, in the amount of $60,550 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, sir.
On to 4B, information, discussion, action to accept the fiscal year 22 Emergency Management Performance Grant, award number EMF-2022-EP-00009-0S01 from the Arizona Division of Emergency Management in the amount of $154,000 with a cost match in the amount of $154,000 of non-federal funds, or 50% of the total approved project cost of $308,000 for the performance period of July 1st, 22 to June 31st, 23. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. So this is our emergency management program grant that pays for Mr. Milford Carl, who does our emergency operations plan for the county, our multi-year jurisdictional hazard mitigation plans, and our community wildfire protection plans, both in the north and the south. And that's a lot of the core principles behind the funding. The state of Arizona also requires some different exercises and tabletop trainings and things. Most of the time, Carl's able to accomplish those in Gila County through the actual emergencies that we've had. So we haven't had to do a lot of those because he gets real world experience. One thing I want to throw out there is when you see the dates of these, it's to no fault of Carl and our emergency management program. We had these submitted long before the beginning of this fiscal year. It's still more of the procurement issues we've had with the state. So that's why we're to you now finally with the grant for this year that started, 9 months ago. But Carl's done a great job to no fault of his. One of the great things about this grant from our perspective, if you've been to the EOC, which I know all three of you have during our fires or flood events, a lot of times we get help from other counties. This is kind of where we develop those relationships with other counties so that other people can come help us. We loan Carl to them sometimes to help out. And even during the COVID emergency when we were doing the large pod events to get people vaccinated, a lot of the reason we were able to do that quicker than most people is we had a better relationship with our Arizona Department of Emergency Management to get people out here to help us set those up. So it's a really good grant. No, it's a one-to-one match, but we really kind of leverage that, and I think we get every penny out of this.
Josh, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Josh. I have no questions.
Josh, the 154,000 of non-federal funds, is that just coming out of our general fund? Is that it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. With that, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the FFY 2022 Emergency Management Performance Grant Award number EMF-2022-EP-00009-S01 from the Arizona Division of Emergency Management in the amount of $154,000 with a cost to match in the amount of $154,000 of non-federal funds, or 50% of the total approved project cost of $308,000 as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Josh, thank you. Carl gets to work another year.
Good.
All right, moving on to C, information, discussion, action to approve the advertisement of invitation for bids number 020623-1- Northern Gila County Water Storage System Project to secure a qualified contractor to transport and install 56 5,000-gallon water storage tanks to 14 locations in the Northern Gila County region. Josh, you're it again.
So we brought this to the Board of Supervisors a few months ago. Carl has done all the work to make sure that Forest Service, the fire chiefs, everybody's on board with locations. We have the quotes for the actual tanks themselves, and we're really ready to bring this to the Board of Supervisors, but we have that one part left before we can get you those final quotes for the 56, or if we purchase some extras. And that is that we're looking for a quote for the pads for these, so probably like a crushed granite or some sand pads, and then the actual fittings and getting everything hooked up and having that ready. So as soon as we get this out, we could get those costs together and we can come back to the Board of Supervisors with our final quotes for the two options that we had discussed with you and hopefully move forward with the project.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Supervisor Humphrey.
I guess I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Josh. So I'm excited about this one. This is something that I think we've been wanting to do for quite a long time. I noticed in my information that it says no to grant money, but I thought we had some money coming that was a $600,000 or something that came for this project. This is upgrading our 14 sites of quick response, fire, helicopter access, and also water tenders, things like that. So we're going to improve our bladder system by replacing it with this. And it's just exciting to me that we're moving forward to a more permanent solution to the issue of conducting this. So maybe this particular portion is not grant money, but isn't there grant money there for this?
Yes, I think it probably should have been I'm looking at Mr. Minlove. I think that probably should have been a yes, because it's a one-to-one match up to, and I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but it's a
Right.
one-to-one match on this.
Yeah, I remember that. So, okay. And are you going to use all 56 in all 14 locations, or are you going to have some stored away?
And then that's what we're going to bring to you when we bring the final quotes. We're going to give you a few options so that you have to choose
Okay.
from. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it.
So Josh, basically what I'm hearing you say is that this contractor will transport and install, but we're gonna provide the fittings and all that? Or is the contractor is that gonna be a part of the contracting
have to.
price?
I'm pretty sure that the fittings we get with the tanks, correct, Carl?
So the fittings we were actually able to get covered under the cost of the tanks. So fittings aren't gonna be an issue. So this cost is for the contractors to pick up from the Star Valley Yard, all 56 tanks, take 4 to each of the 14 site locations, level land, lay sand or granite, and install them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm good with that. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the advertisement of invitation for bid number 020623-1 Northern Gila County Water Storage System Project.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Josh. 4D, information discussion action to adopt resolution number 23-03-02 in support of a grant application in the amount of $37,148.74 that is being submitted to the Gila River Indian Community by the Pine Strawberry Fire District, PSFD, authorizing Gila County to act as the fiscal agent for the PSFD and agreeing to accept funding from the Gila River Indian Community on behalf of the Pine Strawberry Fire District. Amy, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and Supervisors. Thank you for this opportunity. This grant is a Prop 202, which needs to come before the board. And then the grant funds will be passed through Gila County. But the Pine Strawberry Fire District wants to purchase 2 CPR devices because, and part of that will help when they're giving resuscitation, that'll help it keep going whenever they have to switch. We do have Joel from the Pine Strawberry Fire District is here today, and he can answer any questions if you would like to ask them.
Yes, if we have questions. Supervisor Humphrey, any questions?
No, this is done pretty regular, and I think it's a great thing that they're able to give back and do quite a bit for our fire community. So I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Amy. So yeah, just, we'll be happy to pass it right on through.
You're gonna get lucky today and not have to talk, so it's good. Good job. No, we're glad to do this, so thank you, Amy. Thanks for helping with this as well. With
He
that,
did all the hard work.
who did?
Joel.
Good job. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 23-03-02.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. All right, on to E, information, discussion, action to repeal resolution number 23-01-02 and adopt resolution number 23-03-03, appointing Maren Blythe Belling, Finance Director, as a Chief Fiscal Officer for Gila County as required by Arizona Revised Statute. James?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's required by statute that the county designate chief financial officer and its requirements for the annual expenditure limitation. And it is a proposal that Maren Belling, our county finance director, be designated as chief financial officer for Gila County.
Thank you, James. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, James, and thank you, Maren, for willing to do that. I think it's an excellent choice.
And, yeah, I have no questions, so.
Mr. Chairman, I will say that we did this once, according to the directions of the Auditor General, did it to the T, and the Auditor General came back and said, after we had done it, according to our directions, no, you have to redo it. So we're back a second time.
Wait, did we miss crossing the T or dotting an I?
No.
Wow.
That's typical Auditor General.
Okay, well, we got it handled. We can do that. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve resolution number 23-01-01 and approve resolution number 23-03-03.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, James. Congratulations, Maren. 4F, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 2 to contract number 012021-1 with Canyon Country Design Incorporated for on-call design and architectural services to increase the contract amount by $100,000 for a new contract amount not to exceed $200,000 for the contract terms May 4th, 22 to May 3rd, 23. And we have a different Christina. Joseph?
Roger that. Good morning, Chairman, Board. So with this, we're looking to get the extension of, or the addition of $100,000, and this is going to directly support the projects that we already have ongoing, primarily our capital projects. However, it does support some of our maintenance projects that are just as critical to the infrastructure as the capital. With that, 2 projects that are going to be of highlight are going to be the Payson Courts project remodel and also the Payson Sheriff's remodel. They're on the tail end of the design and engineering phase, so this will allow us to be able to close that out, but also she's been able for the past year also support with the Veterans Retreat and also with multiple maintenance projects. So With that, our recommendation would be to approve based off of the projects that we have in motion and projects that we anticipate to be stepping over the next year.
Thank you, Joseph. Supervisor Humphrey.
Oh, yeah, I think it's necessary with the projects that are facing us come forward, because we talk about getting things in front of us to make them move faster, get projects rolling and going and keep moving. And so I think having somebody, and that sounds like a lot of money for design, but if they're not designed and prepared to come in front of us, then we can't vote on them. So I think it'll be money well spent in getting our projects performed faster, and in better quality with the design.
Roger that. Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, these people are like the ones that make the plans, the drawings, the architectural stuff, so that we can put it out to bid.
Roger that.
Yeah, okay.
Absolute necessity.
All right, yeah, thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I just add that a lot of times Karen, in her work, she's a registered architect. She is not an engineer, and she has to contract out some of the work to engineers, and so that drives the cost up. So that's what we're looking at here as cost for engineering on
okay.
these commercial buildings that we're doing.
Well, we're not running out of projects, that's for sure, so if we
Roger
can
that.
keep it going, that's good. I agree with Supervisor Humphrey and Christensen on this, so that I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 2 to contract number 012021-1 with Canyon Country Design Incorporated for on-call design architectural services to increase the contract amount by $100,000 with a not-to-exceed amount of $200,000 as presented.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Joseph.
Great. Thank you.
On to G, information, discussion, action to approve the use of a government cooperative service agreement, 1 GPA number 18-15PV to Sun Valley Builders of Scottsdale, Arizona in the amount of $309,609 for the demolition and installation of a new roof at the Michelson Building to be funded as $150,000 from Freeport, $240,609 from the American Rescue Plan Act funding. And Dub, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. So I am Dub Britton with Facilities and Land Management, and we're bringing a roofing project to you this morning for the support of the renovation on the Michelson Building in downtown Globe. The existing roof system on that building is no longer structurally sound and leaks in many locations throughout the building. The building requires a new roof to be put on as one of the first steps for preventing further water intrusion and deterioration
Hey,
of the
Dub.
building. Yes, sir?
Excuse me, you might have to pull that mic down so that they can hear you better.
Sorry about that.
Is that
You want me
better?
to- Can you hear me okay? All right.
Nope.
How about now?
Put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it almost
Yeah.
has to offend you to work.
All right. So I was saying the building requires a new roof to be put on as one of the first steps to preventing further water intrusion and deterioration of the building. This project includes a complete removal and reconstruction of the roof with all new trusses and a built-up roofing material. The contractor has estimated about 3 months to complete this project once they're mobilized, and depending, of course, on material lead times. And as you mentioned, this is to be funded as $150,000 from Freeport and $240,609 from the American Rescue Act funding. Questions?
Thank you, Dub. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, I have no questions. I think we've been working on this a long time and costs just have kept going up, so it'd have been nice to do it earlier. But I believe also too that the city of Globe has put funds aside for interior renovation once we get the roof and structure fixed. So that will help this get done as it's been intended. So I have no questions and thank you for getting this up.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. No questions.
All right, thank you.
Dub, thank you. This has been in the works for quite a while, so it'd be good to see that fixed and we can move on with it. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the use of Government Cooperative Service Agreement 1 GPA number 18-15 PV to Sun Valley Builders in the amount of $390,609 with $150,000 of funding from Freeport McMoran and $240,609 from the American Rescue Plan Act as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Dub.
Thank you very much.
On to H, information, discussion, action to award a contract in response to invitation for bids number 012523, Russell Gult's landfill scales and installation to the most responsive bidder, Michelli Measurement Group Incorporated, in the amount of $292,479.63. That includes an additional 3 amendments and 10% owner's contingency to the bid package as presented. Homer, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. So this is one piece of the puzzle. We need the new scales for the cell expansion. We currently have a bypass road that we built. We have purchased a scale house and are remodeling the scale house, and actually Canyon Design is helping us with that remodel to make sure we comply with all the code requirements. We had competitive bids. There were 3 bids that were submitted for these scales, and they were very competitive. There was $10,000 difference between the first and the second vendor. 2 of the vendors did not offer the camera alternative. We wanted the camera so that we can view traffic as it approaches. It so happens that the vendor that offered the camera option was also the low bidder on the bid. The camera was an alternative. There is a contingency in here because actually the scale manufacturer will be installing the scale. We have geotech work that we've done with Western Technologies, a company that is expert in that kind of business. And so when we give them the notice to proceed, we will also be giving them the geotech information so that they know how deep they need to dig the foundation. And it's a function of what the material is under that location, as well as the type of material. So if it exceeds the depth of what they expected that they needed to excavate, and we need to do something unusual, we wanted some contingency money. Our goal is to spend $0 on the contingency. And that the road, because we think it's native earth, may not require any additional work than what they had already planned. But we didn't want to have to come back to the board for contingency money. We got all the pieces of the puzzle fitting together. There's about 56 days between now and May 16th when cell 3 will be completed. When we give the notice to proceed, we're going to give them 40-some-odd days. I think it's 46 days, 48 days for them to complete the work. So we're within, the scale should be actually functioning, and the bypass road should be being used to take the scrap, the solid waste to the existing landfill as we await cell 3 to be completed. And there should be a week or 2 difference between the two. So that's the reason for the contingency. This is, again, one piece of the puzzle. The team that put this together, Melanie Mendez and Shannon Coons and many other people that play a significant role in this, actually had to learn about scales and what is a good scale and what's the life of the scale. Can we move the old one? What's the risk of moving the old one, and should we have 1 or 2? And they actually visited different landfills in the state, in the Phoenix area, I believe, where they went to look at what others are doing so that we use some of the best practices and have something that really functions, that is safe and efficient and effective. And with that, we would recommend that we award this contract to Michelli Measurement Group.
Thank you, Homer. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions, just thank you for working on this and getting it rolling, because our dump really needs all the help it can get right now in getting this completed. So Thank you very much, Omar.
Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Yeah, thank you, Homero, for getting the schedule figured out and not having emergencies occurring and everything working as clockwork as it should. These are going to be movable scales if that is ever needed.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Homer, I'm good, so with that, I'll call him, ask for a motion. Did you have something, James? You're good? Okay.
Not yet.
All right, we'll go on with our motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve a contract in response to invitation for bid for number 012523 Russell Gulch landfill scales and installation to Michele Measurement Group Incorporated in the amount of $292,479.63
I will second
as
that.
presented.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Homer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
since we're on the landfill, could I ask a question of, it appeared, Homer, you said that May 16th, which would indicate that we are on pace or on schedule to have the landfill done, the new cells open. Is that the case, or where are we at with the expansion?
May
Is that all right?
16th
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Chairman and County Manager Manlove, May 16th is our target completion date at this point in time. It used to be early May, but we did have some weather days. And the last time I came to the board, that's the date that I mentioned, May 16th. We're still holding on to the May 16th. It is a function of weather, and we could have weather delays that push that date out, but we're doing everything we can. The contractor's interested in getting the work done, and so he's got a recovery plan when things occur. And it's something that's in constant motion. We just actually, in the midst of all of this activity, we just had 2 audits by ADEQ. One at the Russell Gulch landfill and one at the Buckhead Mesa. That was yesterday and the day before yesterday. The one at Russell Gulch had a number of small issues, I'm going to say, except for 2 that are going to be mentioned as corrective action. One is an oil tank and the other one is littering. Buckhead Mesa had an outstanding audit with no items to report. So there's just a lot of things happening all the time. May 16th is our target date. We're interested in that because, as we all know, there's about a $6,000 a day hauling fee for every day that we get past the point of when we close the existing landfill.
Thank you for that, Homer.
Mr. Chair, that opened up a question for me, if I may.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben, we're exploring that a little bit. Okay, well, are the scales going to go in before our catch pond, or is our runoff pond going to be first?
The scales will be probably parallel to that pond, right next to some structures that are there. Today, as you drive up, it's going to be about 200, 300 yards before you get to the existing scales,
Okay, yeah.
the new scales.
I guess the reason for that question is would we be able to facilitate a new dump area prior to the scales being installed? No. I mean, could we use our scales now and have a more available dump space? Or we're not gonna have any more available dump space until we get the scales and the pond in?
If, let's see if I understand the question. If the cell expansion is completed early and we don't have the scales, we would be rerouting traffic through the old scale to get to the cell expansion. But we're pretty certain that the scales will be functioning before the cell expansion is completed.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you.
And one thing that Supervisor Humphrey and Board, one thing, I am asking the team to get together a work session for the board, because one of the things that I want all of us to understand, including myself, is the fiscal status of our landfill operation. How much reserve do we have? What are we collecting on an annual basis? What's the cost to run these? What should we be accruing? What about the expansion for Buckhead Mesa in the future? And I just wanted to bring all those things to the table so that everybody can see that. And it's not just some information that a few of us are able to see, but actually in the creation, I think, of that presentation, I think we're all going to learn a lot about the future of the landfills. And in bringing you that in the late April timeframe, hopefully, we will address everything that's happening with the current work that's being done to the scales and the entrance and whatever hauling may or may not be taking place at that time.
Thank you very much for being able to look ahead at future expansions. Thank you.
Are we good? Okay, I believe we have a motion and a second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Homer, thank you for all that information. It's good.
Thank you.
And you got another one, don't you? Okay, on to I, information, discussion, action to award contracts in response to invitation for bids number 01022-023, on-call road maintenance and heavy equipment services to the most responsive and responsible bidders for an amount not to exceed each contract of $100,000 for MD Merit Incorporated, Audinetto Construction Incorporated, Klein Excavating, J.W. Fansler Resources LLC, and Rummel Construction Incorporated. Homero?
In the past, the board has declared an emergency when we have one, and then we go out and act in a very frantic manner to find vendors, contractors that can help us do on-call work to address emergencies. And we had a good experience of that with the telegraph fire. The action that the board can take today to approve this is that we will provide a ready pool of qualified and licensed firms to do this kind of work. So at the time that the board declares an emergency, the board can say, we want you to go beyond this pool, okay? But for starters, we will have a pool of people that we can select from to do the work. And that was the purpose of bringing this item to you in the first place, okay? It started many months ago. We've questioned whether or not we should be doing something like this. I think it's a learning experience for us. We can try this. If it works well for us, we can continue to use it. If it doesn't work well, we can come back to the board, modify this. Of course, this is a request for bids, so it's been advertised the way it should be in the Payson Roundup. We received six bid packets, and we would like to actually approve all the bids that were received. We would like for the board to award a contract to all the bids that were received. And what we would like to do is that we would award the work based on cost and availability. So that we'll find the lowest cost contractor, and we'll offer them the opportunity to do the work in the required time frame. We'll tell them we need this done in 2 weeks. We need a backhoe, and we need it at this location. And when we determine those things, then we look at who's the low-cost vendor. And so one of the things that we did is we took the six contractors and laid them across a spreadsheet, and we separate, and we did line items based on type of equipment. So for instance, if we were looking for a backhoe, the first one doesn't have a backhoe, so we wouldn't consider them. The second one says $126 an hour for a backhoe. The third one is $140. The fourth one is $85. The fifth one doesn't have one, and the sixth one is $95 an hour. So of course we would select the one that's $85 an hour. We call them up. We want this work to be done in the next 2 weeks. They say okay. There they go. They say no. We go to the next vendor. And so we've separated this by type of equipment and size of equipment. And so it requires a little bit of work for staff to say what equipment should be used, how much time will it take, and then include the cost of that equipment and the mobilization cost and determine low cost. And then we go to work that way. And that's the process that we'd like to use. It's not as clean because it's very difficult to compare apples to apples. Every one of these vendors has blanks as you go down the list, and they have different types of equipment, but many of them have an excavator, and many of them have a backhoe. And we can, I think, do the receive work and target low cost by this effort. Okay. So with that, I'd like to suggest to the board that this item be approved.
Thank you, Homer. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I think when this first came up, I didn't vote for it because I didn't feel as if 6 contractors would be enough in an emergency. But now that you've come up with this and explained it, one, if we put it out for advertisement and only got 6 bids, then the ones that didn't fill out a packet, I appreciate you offering the list for the people that contract for everyone that did respond. So that's great because, 10 of them could have responded if they wanted to. And I think it's also good that you have allowed that in case of emergency, or we call all 6 of these bidders and none are able to show up because they're busy or some other, that we can still reach out of this pool that we have of those 6. And, every contractor has different overhead. And so, that's the difference in some of these bids. But we can still reach out beyond this pool. So I feel more comfortable with it than I did when it was first presented. So thank you.
Thank you, and if I may, Chairman and Supervisor Humphrey, actually, we learned the first time we presented to the board what the board would have a preferred alternative. And what we heard is, why only 4, okay? And to be honest with you, I don't know why we only said 4, to be honest. We were trying to limit the size, not knowing how many we would get, okay? And it's an evolution to come to you today with what we came to you today. But I would like to add one item to the suggested motion. The suggested in saying that we're going to grant the award to all of these contractors with no promise to give them any work whatsoever. It's just what we'll call them when we need them. There was one, as I was reading the suggested motion, we left out one vendor called Klein Convenient Mobile, and I would like to add Convenient Mobile to the reading of the suggested motion, if that's okay with everyone, the board and the county attorney. So I'd like to make that proposal that it was our intent to have all of them, and for some reason, we left Convenient Mobile off the list.
Supervisor Christensen.
Yes, I noticed that. So you answered my question or read my mind. So just to kind of figure out the limits to this, so let's say one of these contractors gets up to $100,000 within the year, fiscal year, I can imagine, then we can no longer use them. We have to go to another contractor.
Correct. That's the way this board item is written.
Okay, so the maximum potential here would be $600,000, but likely would never reach that.
Correct. And of course, we would probably come to the board or county manager and make sure that we have that funding. The funding, in an emergency, HERF can handle so much, and then we have to ask ourselves, is this a road emergency? Is it a drainage emergency? Is there state funding, et cetera? The funding issue is, we would be taking direction from the board when an emergency is declared.
Okay.
If this, even though we mention emergency at various times, actually the board item doesn't read or limit us to emergencies, okay? So that if we have some work that needs to be done somewhere that we cannot handle with our own team, we have the option of using HERF money under this contract to do work that's not an emergency nature.
And we likely could get reimbursed if it were an emergency nature.
Hopefully,
Yes.
that's what happens. Now,
Yeah.
it's not our intention. This was an answer to a process that we used at the telegraph fire that that we received some criticism on, okay? This is trying to do better than what we did with the telegraph fire. And it's not our intention to use these on-call contractors for normal routine work. And if the board wanted to add the word emergency to the suggested motion, I think it would still be an accomplishment on what we've done and targeting the main item that we want to target. But this leaves it open for us to use somebody to help us if we need to do some work that is HERF-related of a more of a routine nature. And I just wanted to share those thoughts with you. Okay?
Thank you.
So Homer, when this all went out, because I didn't look at it, but the on-call part of it does give you the impression it is under emergency circumstances. Was it pointed out in that process that you were kind of thinking they could be used outside of emergency as well?
To the contractors?
Yeah.
It's
In
an
the
on-call.
advertisement?
It was mostly on-call. They should have read that as being, it could be either one.
All right. You threw out that idea as far as emergencies, and I personally like that idea myself. I don't know how you two feel, but if we're gonna go this route, I think it should be for emergencies. And basically, when we're pressured like we've been in the past after these floods and whatnot, I think this would work. But any routine work that we may see coming up or need done, I think it needs to be put out there separately. That's my thoughts. The other thing, Klein Excavating has nothing to do with me, so I am not recusing myself today of any bidding. And so it may have something to do with others, Homero, but I'm sure you've got that in mind, so. Any other questions from the board?
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
You're good? All right. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify one thing, because Mr. Bellis said something about adding a contractor on here that's not listed. And I thought, well, maybe you're going to contemplate doing that. If not, then I don't have anything to say. If you are going to, I have something to say.
Let's hear what you have to say. How's that?
Well, my concern would be that under the requirements for open meeting law, that an agenda item be written in such a way that the action taken by the board conforms to the written agenda item. And someone wouldn't be surprised at what the board did. And if you added the name of a contractor that's not in the written agenda, someone might be surprised out there and say, oh, well, if I'd known they were going to do that, I'd have showed up. I had something to say about that. So I would have some concerns about adding an additional contractor that is not listed on the written agenda.
Okay. So your suggestion is that we leave that part of the contractor out.
Yeah, if you want to add somebody, you probably need to
Do it at a
do this
later
on
date.
another day and add him on the written agenda.
I see your point. Any questions on that, Supervisor Humphrey?
No, maybe just recommend that we approve it the way it is, and then in a separate meeting, we could add someone. Because they've already gone through the process that everyone else did.
I don't disagree with that. Supervisor
Yeah,
Christensen?
it'd just be an amendment. I'm fine with that.
Okay. You good, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, I'll call for a motion. Are you good, Homer?
Chairman and County Attorney, if I may, you know, the section under evaluation says 6 bid packets were received, and each of them have their own unique equipment and charges. We reviewed the bids, and it was decided that each of them would receive a contract that the board approved. So the omission is an error of omission. The intention was to award the contract to all 6 of them. So I don't know if that changes the county attorney's mind that the board could act convenient mobile, based on the fact that in writing, we do mention that it is our intention to ask the board to approve all 6.
So looking at it from the perspective of the contractors that received the opportunity to bid, they're not surprised because they received this information. But the open meeting law looks at it from the perspective of the general public. It says, would the general public be surprised if they saw the board take an action based on what they read that the agenda item was going to be about? So if the board did add somebody from the general public could say, I don't like that contractor, I would have showed up and said something about this. That's speculative, maybe nothing will happen. The board just takes a risk that that could happen if the board adds somebody on that's not spelled out in the written agenda, which is to inform the general public about what the meeting will be about today.
Thank you, Jeff. So let's see what the motion's going to say. I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve a contract in response to invitation for bids number 01022023, on-call road maintenance and heavy equipment services to the 6 contractors that submitted bids, including MD Merritt Incorporated, Autoneto Construction Incorporated, Convenient Mobile, Klein Excavating, J.W. Fansler Resources, LLC, and Rummel Construction with a not-to-exceed amount of $100,000 per contract per year.
Do I have a second?
I think, well, I think the way it was read is all 6 contractors, but there are only 5 contractors named. So I think we need to go with 5 contractors and then name the 5 contractors. But I'm asking the attorney. The way it was read, it said all 6 contractors, but there was only 5 contractors named.
All 6
So-
contractors who submitted a bid.
Right, so here's my thought on it, is I think we ought to go the safe route, do what's on here, and then we back it up by adding one later on. We're not under any time frame. We're not under any time pressure or anything like that, and I think just to play it safe, we correct it a little further down the road. Yes, what?
Oh, everybody's
Okay.
gonna be happy.
All
Okay.
right, so motion dies as with, for no second. So now can we ask for another motion and redo this one? Jeff, we're good with that? All right, I'll ask for a new motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve contract in response to invitation for bid number 01022023, on-call road maintenance and heavy equipment services to MD Merritt Incorporated, Autoneto Construction Incorporated, Klein Excavating, J.W. Fansler Resources, LLC, and Rummel Construction with a not-to-exceed amount of $100,000 per contract per year.
I'll second that one.
We got one that's good, let's go for it. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries, and then we'll look for the other one in the future, huh?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Homer. Thank you, Jeff. On to J, information, discussion, action to approve the use of safe contract number IT 22-020-01 with IT Partners in the amount of $167,487.95 for the purchase of the digitization server. Carrie, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. We are coming before you to request a server that will be used for the sheriff's office to help with their digitization of documents. We met with the sheriff's office staff to determine their scanning needs, and it was determined that their new server was needed to handle the volume of documents that they will be scanning. On September 6, 2022, the Board of Supervisors approved a funding for information technology digitation purchases. We would like to request the purchase of this server using the digitation funding. I can answer any questions y'all might have.
Thank you, Carrie. Supervisor Humphrey?
No, I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you. And the money's coming from a grant, but it's not the ARPA money.
Yes, sir, it's coming from the Marin, is it for the grant? Is it for the digitation? It's from ARPA. Okay, sorry.
It is ARPA, okay, thank you.
Carrie, I'm good, thanks.
All
That, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the use of SAVE contract number IT 22-020-01 with IT Partners in the amount of $167,487.95.
I will second.
Having a motion and second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. On to K, information discussion action to approve the use of state contract number CTR 059886 with micro age in the amount of $25,224.28 for the purchase of 55 new ScanSnap iX 1400 document scanners. Carrie?
Good morning, Chairman, board members. This item is related to the previous item in our conversation with the Sheriff's Office. It's also determined that scanners are needed to help with the digitation process. We are asking the board members to approve purchase of 55 scanners to be used by the Sheriff's Office staff countywide and also both Justice of the Peace offices. I can answer any questions y'all may have.
Thank you, Carrie. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, this is just to scan information, so you don't need all the paperwork. It can all be on wouldn't that be nice if you could do that with evidence? And have it all on a little microchip instead of in storage somewhere? No further questions.
Yes, sir.
I have
Supervisor
no
Christensen.
questions, thanks.
I'm good too. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the use of state contract number CTR 059886 with micro age in the amount of $25,224.28.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Carrie. 4L, information discussion action to approve the intergovernmental agreement number 020623 and economic development grant between Gila County and the Pine Strawberry Fire District whereby the county will disperse $32,520.56 for the purchase of portable radios and that the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. I was approached by Mr. Joel Brandt, who is with us here today with the Pine Strawberry Fire District. Along with him today, just to mention, is Melvin Palmer, who is with the Northern Division of the Sheriff's Posse. Thank you for coming. The Pine Strawberry area is a difficult area for radio transmissions. This is an upgrade, came and requested that, basically 13 radios we're talking about with a lot of other equipment that supports that. And to help with public safety, we deal with Fossil Creek, we deal with a lot of traffic through that area, a lot of residents. We have a highway, and so we're here today to look at approving the purchase of those radios. Joel, would you like to add anything to that?
Chairman, members of the board, I appreciate you guys' time, allowing me to come up here and talk. We approached Supervisor Christensen asking for assistance in upgrading our radios. Our radios are well over 15 years old. They're outdated. We're having problems programming them. We're having problems repairing them. And we're all around having problems with performance with these portable radios. And as many of you know, the smaller fire districts in your area are having problems with funding our capital needs, and so we reached out to Steve with assistance with this project. We do work with a lot of your local county agencies, and these will help us communicate with them, and as well as any of our local events such as the bike races, the foot races, any of those kind of things that come through our community. So this is a very needed upgrade for us at this time. And I entertain any questions if you guys got any. And
Thank you. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have a lot of questions, but I guess I'll hold them for now.
Okay, so I guess I'll skip you. So my question is we're talking about portable radios, and I think you mentioned 13?
Yeah,
What other equipment are we talking about that isn't on here?
chargers and it's actually all.
All
listed.
accessories?
It's all listed in item L. There's a list, an invoice And so after the radios, battery packs, antennas, speaker, mic, desk charger, cabling,
Okay,
et cetera.
okay. I just think, holy cow, $32,000 and 13 radios. Wow. Now,
Yeah.
my question for you would be, I think we all missed the boat somewhere along the way. We should have really bought stocks in radios. And so I can't even begin to even tell you how many's come through this board. But with the radios that you're looking at, will they all interact with everything else, like the sheriff's office and?
The fire districts work off of VHF radios, which are a different frequency what they use. But when we do work with the search and rescue, they operate the same style radio frequencies that we do, and we do have means of communicating with them. These are the same radios that other fire districts in our area, all the other fire districts in our area are currently operating these style radios.
Okay, and so my next question is where's the money coming from? Out of your constituent fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so, well, that's all my questions. Supervisor Humphrey, did you have any more questions?
Yeah, earlier on D, there was a pass-through for $37,148.74. Is that in support of this other one for the total radio cost?
No, the 37,000 for the pass-through is for the Lucas 3 CPR devices. We have tried the 202 grant route with the radios before. We've applied for several of these with the 202 route, and we were unsuccessful.
You good, Miss Supervisor Humphrey?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so with that, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement number 020623, an economic development grant to the Pine Strawberry Fire District in the amount of $32,520.56, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good deal. Thanks for coming down.
Yep, thanks for your time.
Uh-huh. On to 5, consent agenda action items. Any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed and voted upon as a regular agenda item upon the request of any member of the Board of Supervisors. And Supervisor Humphrey, we'll start with you. You have anything you want to talk about?
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Christensen.
I'm good as well, thank you.
Okay, I've got one, and James, we'll talk about that under the 50 report from the manager. And that is for, let me get back here to it. The professional services contract number 020923 with Temp Serve for You. That's a contract that Mr. Minlove went into effect with. You, Supervisor Humphrey, had requested a work session on org chart and all that coming up, in which we do have scheduled very soon. And so my thought is we just hang tight on that contract and take a look at our org chart and decide where we're really going in the facilities department, projects, all that, to maybe think about if that's a position we should be actually looking for in the county rather than a contract. But I'm open for suggestions or discussion from either one of you.
Well, I don't know that particular item is an emergency. And so, I mean, we could table it until after we have a discussion of where we're going with some of these projects in our management, and maybe look into more of where our projects are going and the management of them to see where we're at for sure. So we could pretty much, accept everything but F and table F for a future meeting perhaps, if necessary, after we go through a management meeting to understand more where we're going with our projects and things?
So Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but like on contracts under 50 that's signed by James, or James, you can correct me if I'm wrong as well. I mean, that's a valid contract today. And what we would be asking is we just set pat on it until we get through our next work session. James, I think you got something you want to add.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This contract, the contractor, who is Mary Springer, has been told that this is on hold, that we're not going to utilize her services until the questions that you as the board have. It is true, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, that the contract is a valid contract, an agreement between Gila County and the vendor, because it is a signed contract. If I could take a minute and just relate what the purpose of this contract was, that as you've gone through all of these projects and things that we have going on here and discussing these with facilities and Mr. O'Driscoll, that there's a lot of projects going on, and the bandwidth of being able to, for facilities and finance to process all of these contracts and put these potential contracts out to bid, that to me, it was a short-term need. And certainly next week, next Tuesday, is the discussion about our org chart and our staffing and that. So that's just a week, no problem in holding off. But this was, as we talked with facilities and Mr. O'Driscoll about getting these projects done and eliminating bottlenecks that we might have in getting contracts and getting them awarded out, that this was a potential tool in the tool chest to be able to use to hurry things along. And so that's why this contract went forward. As you said, it's just a week, and we can have that discussion next week about where we're at with our employees and what we need to do, direction that you would like to give us as the Board of Supervisors, because that is your responsibility, that we have that discussion next week. And so that's all really good, but that's the reason why we went forward with the contract.
So James, thank you for that, and Supervisor Humphrey, I guess I could be kind of the one that's been pushing this, let's get these projects out the door, really, here lately. But stepping back a little bit from that and really looking at the organization and looking at our projects that we have on the board and where we're headed, you know, I think there definitely needs to be the discussion, do we need someone in-house for that? You know, not to say that maybe next week that we come up with this serves us in the interim until that happens, but, so that's why I wanted to bring it up today. If we could just stand pat with the contract and let it set there, and then we'll get through next week and see where we go.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's on hold.
Okay.
We have notified the vendor that there's no work going to be performed
So-
until the board. I'm going to stop right there.
No, that's good. Thank you, James. And so, Jeff, we don't have to make a motion or do anything that way, right? Or do we? About this contract?
No, I think that what you're doing is fine. You're stopping short of taking any action on something that's not on the agenda, which is what you should do.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I would feel more comfortable if we accepted A through E until we have an opportunity to discuss further management in front of the whole management team with our meeting next week.
Supervisor Humphrey, I'm not sure, but what we don't have to go through all of it with just the idea that this contract's gonna be sitting there waiting for us for next week or whatever.
Mr. Chairman, all of these that are listed here are valid contracts. A ratification or bringing these to the board next week or the week after doesn't matter.
So we're
It's not
okay,
going to make issues, so A through E is totally fine.
okay, you're good with that, A through E? Okay, Go ahead.
Is our county attorney good with that?
are you good with that, Jeff?
I'm just to make sure, clarify what you're doing. So you're proposing to approve consent agenda action items A through E, but not F, and leave those for another meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
okay, thank you. So can I have a motion for that?
So should the first motion be to remove item F
No.
out of consent?
No, just to accept A through E.
Okay. I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5E.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion is second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. All right, call to the public. Lisa, do you have anyone in Payson with you?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you. How about on YouTube? Are we good? How many do we have on YouTube today? 23? Cool. No one here in the audience, so we'll go on to 7. And James, would you like to start that, or updates?
Mr. Chairman, nothing further today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, James. Supervisor Humphrey.
I held the Tonto Basin Community Meeting, held a Roosevelt Community Meeting. I haven't been on the radio lately. It's not that I haven't tried, but they've had difficulties with health issues in both radio stations locally. So down here I haven't been. I held a Southern Gila County preseason fire meeting. That was an interesting meeting, and so we're working on that. Attended a Gila Community College 20th anniversary celebration. I think it's great what they're doing out there, and we're sure trying to help them to maybe get on their own. And I attended a State Route 88 meeting to push forward, and that's gaining a lot of momentum with our state people and our federal people on trying to get that going to reopen 88 down past Roosevelt. So that's kind of where I've been, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Yeah, thank you. So a little bit busy. We're having a pre-fire season meeting in Payson at the funeral home. They're very gracious to offer that to us. That'll be on Thursday. It's a regularly scheduled annual kind of meeting where we get together the Forest Service and the various fire departments and ADOT, et cetera. And so both of you are invited to that, but I think if you come, you should let us know so we can post that.
That's this Thursday?
That's this Thursday, starting at, it's posted, okay. When does that start, Cheryl? 9? 9 o'clock, yeah. So yesterday I was on KMOG, that went well. Also been getting a little progress now, maybe not more than a little, on the Fossil Creek issues with repairing the road. We now have permission from the ranger to improve the 708 road, which Homero and myself, Gary Morris, went out there to look, boulders all over the place, landslides, et cetera. I think we have a plan going forward, and we're allowed to repair the 708 road right now. We're also allowed to clear some brush and move some boulders in a designated parking area at the top that would be for the rescue parking. So they have big trailers. We've already put in a gate and things like that. So we're moving right along, and we're down to maybe 1 or 2 hurdles before we're able to repair the Bob Bear Trail. So I'm excited about that. Went to a small county forum dinner. James was there. Let's see, when was that? Was that, I can't remember. Last Wednesday, yes, last Wednesday. So that was nice. Graham County was the sponsor there, and so we had a good time doing that. That's all I have, thanks.
All right. My first meeting was with Tonto NRCD, and we were fortunate enough to have a gentleman from DFM show up there, Department of Fire and Forestry Management from the state, Willie Summers. He's the guy that deals with the invasive and noxious weed programs for the state and coordinates the grants and all that. And so that he had some really good information. As you guys remember, the money that the county had passed along to NRCD, part of that was to go in and do the mapping and the groundwork for invasive weeds on the ground to be prepared for this grant. So Willie was there that day, offered to help us however we needed help. Really a lot of insight there and help. So looking forward to that. I had a fire chiefs meeting in Payson. We had Water Wheel, Hills Gate, Christopher Coles, and Tri-City that attended that meeting. My purpose of that meeting was just to talk to the chiefs and get a feel for the added country that I have in my district, basically from across the face of the rim to Whispering Pines. And so it was a really good meeting with the fire chiefs. We had a lot of discussion on that as well. Right after that, I had a meeting with the Payson mayor, Chris Higgins. That went real well. Had discussed projects and some of his ideas and things like that. I'd also attended a WIOA workforce meeting in Sholo, and we transitioned the executive board. So I am no longer the chair on the executive board. A gentleman by the name of David Miller is the chair, and James Bruzy is the vice chair, and they're looking for a secretary on the board, is what they're lacking right now. So that's gonna be out, and hopefully we can find somebody else to get on there. And went real well, had a really good meeting with all of them. They're real excited, they're moving forward. Jeremy Flowers is the new director and doing an awesome job. And so I will be on the main board, just not the executive board. And then on the 16th, I attended a town hall meeting in Kearney with Pinal County Supervisor Jeff Surdy. He had a meeting down there, did a fantastic job of setting it up, brought a lot of his people, staff, and other departments with him down there, and had a good discussion. The one thing about Kearney in that lower corner down there, well, you have Superior, Kearney, Hayden, Winkleman, Dudleyville, all the way down to Mammoth in there. Kind of a tough little corner and tough for jobs and everything else. So one of the things that I learned in the WIOA meeting when I was there was after Jeremy had went through the budget, we found that we have a lot of youth money sitting in that workforce budget. And so what I did was I sat down with Jeff Surdy, Supervisor Surdy, and also there was a WIOA lady there from Pinal County. And then there's another gentleman we're gonna be talking to. But what I threw out was the idea of maybe Pinal County, us, Gila County, and the workforce boards, Pinal County and ours, develop some kind of a partnership that we can go in and support the youth in that particular corner and build some kind of a program down there to work more kids. We've worked a lot of kids down there in the summer. We do every summer. And I think there's more down there that could use a hand as well. You know, we don't, we get these kids in and we put them with Winkleman and Hayden in the school. But if we have Kearney sitting there that can take more kids, or whoever in Dudleyville that we can work with, I think we can put together a really good program down there to help out even more. So we'll see where that goes. I'll keep you guys informed on that and see if we want to do that if we get closer. And also on that, as far as summer jobs, our summer youth employment program is out. Ladies are working on that. And so you directors and anybody else out there that you know are looking for some kids to work this summer, well, give a holler. The program is going to run from June 5th to July 14th. And so it'd be really good to pick up as many kids as we can. On the 17th, me and Kathy and Joseph, we met with Representative David Marshall at the Vets Retreat, and a lady, Jessica, I just spaced her name. I have to apologize to her. Anyway, she's with State Veterans. Rosa, that's right. Yeah, so we had a really, really good meeting up there. Supervisor Marshall came up, went through the site, looked at everything. We had a lot of discussion on different aspects of the site, and James, you were there as well. And so it went really, really well. You know, Representative Marshall had been wanting to come up there and look at the site. Even though he had seen what was printed out, he had heard Joseph Spill presenting to him and everything like that. He was quick to say it isn't nothing like standing in the middle of it and looking at it. So that's really good. They're pushing for the $1 million. And by all means, as Gila County, we are appreciative of that. And so Wednesday, tomorrow, at 2 o'clock, I have to be in Phoenix at the Capitol at the Senate to get ready to present on the Senate side for this. And so hopefully this will all go through and the governor will take it in her budget and we'll be able to collect that $1 million out of that. That'll be a huge plus for us on this site. And I think with that, that's kind of all I had. Do either one of you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, that sparked a little for me. Anyway, yeah, the reason, like I said, I have a Southern Fire District meeting and you guys have one up north. And that's not to split north and south. It's because we're in two different, to let people know, we're in two different forest districts. And there's a forest district that I think stops at Roosevelt and then starts at Roosevelt. And so we do that because when I was elected, there was a lot of issues with fires up north, but not down south. And so there wasn't any meetings down south, even though we're in a different district. So that's why I started having them. It's not to split the county. It's just to get on the same page with fires, with both forest districts. And also too, I have a 3:00 meeting today with Christian Cinema's staff to go over drainage with Russell Gulch. When we met with her down when she was in the area, I mentioned it. And so her staff has contacted me, so we have a meeting today to discuss some flood funding, being that we lost a lot of our money that was presented to us from NRCS. So hopefully we can work on some funding projects to help us protect our hospital and our APS line and their base. And so anyway, thank you, Mr. Chair, that's all.
Yeah, I had something to add on that fire meeting stuff, not to beat this to death, but back when I took office, the only preseason fire meeting we had was on the northern side. Tommy started that a long time ago, and it was Supervisor Humphrey that started organizing one and putting one together down here, which has been a really big help. And it just opens up the communications and gets us all kind of tied together better. So, yeah, it's good. It absolutely is. And there is no division in this county. I don't really care what people say about that. But anyway, we're all one. Got anything else?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. More the merrier on that, getting prepared for the season. And we do have two different kind of climates and everything else, so it's all good. I was just going to say, though, I just remembered, you're going to go before the Senate. So Senator David, is it Gower or Gowan?
Gowan.
Yeah, Gowan. He showed up at the small county forum and had a little presentation, and I put in a plug for Gila County and that bill that's moving through. So he's, I think, chairman of the Appropriations Committee, so.
So the message I'm going to take to the Senate tomorrow is how appreciative we are of the $1 million that they're wanting to give and not go with any plugs. These guys are working their tails off to try and get this through a process that is not easy. And so there's no way that I want them to think we're not appreciative of the $1 million. And so, because I'm not talking for you two, but I can guarantee you I am appreciative of that $1 million. And that $1 million will get us a long ways. You piss somebody off and you might not get that $1 million. That's kind of what it amounts to. And so, unfortunately, with the climate in about any political arena right now, it's easy to upset somebody. James?
I just have a question. Which committee were you going to testify to?
Military Services.
That's the committee that Senator Gowan is the chair over?
Yeah, I know.
He's on the Finance Committee, but he is the chair
He's
over finance. Or, I'm sorry, military affairs.
Yeah, and he's on the Appropriations Committee as well. So, yeah. So anyway, I'll be there at 2:00 and see when we present. But anyhow, that's all I had. Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
With that, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Lisa, thank you.